Hey guys, it's Joe, and welcome back to my guides for the rares of the Mist of Pandaria. This is the Timeless Isle Part 2, because just one video could not contain all the rares that are on the Timeless Isle. Think about it, in the original content of Pandaria, when the expansion was released, we had 56 rares in total. This island alone has 31, and more than half the entire continent had when this expansion released. It's amazing, and that's why I had to split it up. It's just insane to think that I could cover 30 rares in one video. I tried. It didn't work. So anyway, let's move on, and let's get to the rest of these rares, shall we? Alright, well, let's go back to where we left off. Just down there by Stinkbraid, we're going to move up the coast just a tad to Bufo. He's a frog. And we're also going to deal with Golganar. He is a giant rock creature. Let me tell you, he is a beast. Can't wait to show you. Now, Bufo is an area where there's a ton of frogs, and you may get him mixed up with the rest of them. One thing I did want to add as well, in the mini-map, you're going to see skulls and the name of the rares when you mouse over it that you're looking for now. They added that on, I don't know when, but that is a part of the Timeless Isle, so now if you're wandering around the area, you can look at your mini-map, you can even see in this particular instance that they do have it marked, so that helps. Now, when it comes to Bufo and his abilities, you're only going to have to worry about something called Gulp Frog Toxin. It's going to be a debuff that's going to give you a lot of damage every 3 seconds, and after it stacks to 10, it's instant death. So yeah, you need to kind of kill him before that stacks to 10. In terms of what he drops, you can actually see I ended up getting it, the Gulp Froglet. It's a little frog pet with a new model, so it's really neat. I'm not going to go ahead and show it to you. It's just a tiny Bufo. It's no big deal. Let's move on. We've got more rares to kill. Alright, just inland a little bit, we got Golganar, and oh, looks like I've already pissed him off. Trust me, that killed me. Yeah, the things I do for a good camera shot. Alright, now let's try a proper pull now. And you can see he's just kind of standing there. There's a bunch of other rock guys that kind of walk around. You can kind of see there's one or two that pat real close to where he is too, so you probably want to clear those out before you take him on. More than likely, you're going to need a big group to take this guy down. He has 218 million health, and it took us quite a while with about a 5-man group. And you can see here with a couple of his abilities, I don't last very long. There's a lot of running back. You can see straight ahead there. You can't really see him right now, but he's straight ahead from where this particular graveyard is. See, there he is. So yeah, luckily if you do die and your corpse run isn't really a corpse run too badly anyway, he's right there. Now let's go over some of the abilities you're going to have to worry about with Golganar. If you're a caster and you're ranged, you're fine for the most part. Now you will have to worry about Boulder, which he will toss a boulder. That is one thing you have to worry about. Otherwise, melee is where you really get screwed on this. Number one is Stomp, where he will stomp, do a ton of damage, but also stun you for a couple seconds, which leaves you vulnerable for more damage. Speaking of more damage, you get Frenzy, where the giant stomps around for 10 seconds and then must rest. Now that's the key to it though. He does stop and stand still after he does that. So that is your opportunity, especially as melee, to stand behind him, because you can see the stomp that he's doing is actually only on the front side. It's a frontal cone. You will, if you stand behind him and he does that stomp, you will not get the damage, you will not get stunned. So that is a very good thing. So you want to go ahead and try and stay behind him as best as you can, as melee unfortunately as enhanced. That's what I was doing, and yeah, so when he rests, that's when you can really wail on him and not worry about that stomp hitting you at all. Now let's move on to what he drops. It's called the Odd Polished Stone. You become infused with stone, granting a chance upon killing an opponent to encase them in stone. This is the exact same thing as Kang's Bind Stone out in the original Pandaren rares. So if you're familiar with that, once you get that killing blow on somebody, it will make them statuesque. They will be encased in stone and look all pretty, and you can mock them. As we leave Bufo and Golganar in the dust, we head up a little north to where the champion of the Black Flame like to pat back and forth in that green horseshoe there, Leaf Mender, who hangs out by a tree, shocking, and then Hulan. He actually pats in a giant circle around the Blazing Way, but we're going to kill him right in that spot that is shown on the map. And here you can see them walking around. Like I said, they walk that entire path. You'll get very familiar with them. You'll probably bump into them many times when you're trying to ride around doing different things in the area. Anyway, let's go ahead and look at their abilities because, frankly, the main thing you got to keep in mind is there's 3 of them, literally, and it's not that they have a shared health pool or anything. That's one thing I think many people mistake when encountering them. So, first of all, they have a charge. It's a fiery charge. It does a lot of damage, and it knocks you down, so try and avoid that. I mean, there's not much you can do about it, really. I think it only happens when you get out of range. If you're out of melee range, for example, and you have their attention, yeah, so that might happen. The other thing is the Blazing Cleave, which you will see them spin around do that. That is a lot of damage. Try and avoid that. Just basically get out of the way when you see them starting to cast that. And once the last one is down, you will be able to loot and check and see. Now, what they do drop in this case is the Black Flame daggers. Now, they're not actual daggers that you can actually use as weapons. It is purely cosmetic. You just use them, and you appear to be holding the daggers just like they do. Yeah, sorry about that, rogues. Now, just down the road a little bit, we have Leaf Mender. As you can see, he's a sprite who just hangs out by these trees. These other sprites are all trying to defend the trees. That's what all that magic is. So, unfortunately, he's chained to this one that I pulled, which is not a big deal, but it does emphasize one of his abilities, which is a healing touch. He actually can heal his fellow compadres there. So he doesn't heal himself, but he will heal his friends. I don't know what that says about him, but anyway, the only other ability you have to worry about with this guy is Great Wrath. He does hit you for decent damage with that particular ability, but it's not a huge deal. Again, you just self-heal your way through it, or kill him really quick, and he's done. Like many rares on this island, he's going to drop a pet, the Ashleaf Spriteling, which is just a miniature sprite, just like him. Looks the same, just a little miniature, pocket version, although they're kind of small to start with. Next up is Hulan. I believe this is going to be one of the most farmed rares here on this entire island because it does drop a mount, but we'll get into that after the fight. He only has 2 abilities that you really have to concern yourself with, but they are quite nasty. One of them is called Storm Blossom, where he's going to put a stormy puddle on the ground. You can see it right there. Stay out of it, obviously. Serious damage. Now, the other thing is called a Lightning Breath. This is a lot of damage, and mostly whoever is tanking it is going to have to deal with it. It is only a 1.5-second cast time, so you're going to have to shuffle your feet awfully fast. Our bear tank found out the hard way several times here. Once you get it down, you have a chance to get the reins of the Thundering Onyx Cloud Serpent, which, if my memory serves, it's just like the Shadow Pan one, but it's got the thundering effect like a Lonnie. Really going to be a lot of people going after this. I'm assuming the drop rate is like 1% or something crazy. I don't know the percentage, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but I'm sure it's going to be really low. So really, when that thing's up, people are going to flock to it. So I really highly recommend, if that's what you're looking for, pay attention quick, because it's probably gonna die a lot and fast. Let's go west down the road a little bit, over a ramp, and we get to Cinderfall, as well as a couple that are down below that area in caves, Tsavo'ka and Spellark. Let's start with Cinderfall, and he is a beast. He was the bane of a lot of people's existence on the PTR, let me tell you. One of the main reasons is because he's on this bridge, which makes an instant bottleneck, and he does mass AoE on the ground, so you're kind of stuck in this little bottleneck. You need to pull him out. In my opinion, that's the best way to go. There is an ad that is on the front of that bridge, but you can kill him fairly readily. He's very similar to Cinderfall, so it's good practice anyway, and then you pull Cinderfall out right here, and you should have plenty of room to work with. You can see those AoEs on the ground. It's gigantic. I mean, if you're in that bottle, look at how wide that is. It takes up the entire area of that bridge. It's just not a good place to attack him. So, alright, well, let's look at his abilities. Now, ironically, he has only 2, but they are both called Molten Inferno. Now, I'm not sure why they did this, but it's not going to do a lot of good to look at his cast because it's going to say Molten Inferno each time. What you want to do is look at the AoE on the ground to determine which one is coming. There are 2. One is going to be a line straight in front of him. The other one's going to be an AoE, either a frontal cone or an AoE all the way around him in his circle. So really, again, just seeing Molten Inferno is not going to be enough. You got to adhere to that stuff on the ground. So when you see those dots on the ground, just move for your own benefit. Now let's look at the potential drop here, which is called the Falling Flame. Launches the user into the distance as a blazing meteor. Now, I didn't get to see this in person, but my friend Euphyley had this item at one time, and she said it launched her quite a ways across the map. So much so and so far into the air, I believe that you would die on impact if you didn't land, say, in water. So, hopefully, if you get this, you can plan your flight. Like I said, I haven't seen it in person. I'm looking forward to hopefully seeing some people fly through the air and, you know, maybe meet their doom. I'm sick like that. Next up is tsavo'ka, who's just hanging out in his den. And unfortunately, we have to come and intrude because, you know, we've got loot, we've got achievements we've got to get. Sorry, kitty, you've got to go. Now, he only has 2 abilities we really have to worry about. One is called Pounce, which has a 3-second cast time and will stun you, so just stay out of that. And then another one, which is just a general damage ability called Greater Swipe. Shouldn't be much of an issue. Really, this is probably a very soloable rare here on the Timeless Isle, and shouldn't give you a whole lot of problem, I would anticipate. Now, much like the other kitty that we were able to kill for the rares, called Crane Gnasher, he will also potentially drop the Pristine Stalker Hide, which again, is basically a big bag of leather goods. It's just going to drop a lot of exotic leather and all that stuff that you can use, but the ones that I've gotten, the bags, the pristine hides that you see here, it was a lot of leather. So if you want to catch up on leatherworking, I know where you can go for some materials, let me tell you. Next up, one of his neighbors in a cave is called Spellerk. Now, this is one of the more interesting situations on the PTR. I don't know if this is going to be fixed on live or what is the deal. The reality is you need a weapon to open that cave in, to get inside the cave there. Unfortunately, the weapon itself is nowhere to be found. There is a note on the outside that indicates it should be in the Celestial Court, but there is no weapon to be found. Look, in fact, as you can see, I snuck in, and the weapon is inside the cave to remove the cave-in. That's pretty much like locking the door with a key inside just in case somebody needs to get in. Hopefully that gets fixed. Hopefully something changes. But anyway, there we release the cave-in, which lets you into the cave, but it also spawns Spellerk. So hopefully, again, that will have been fixed on live at some point. So, but anyway, Spellerk is really not... He's just like Rock Moss, which you will see here in a bit as well. He has a murky cloud, which is the real problem with these particular rares, these mossy rares. As you can see, it's right behind him. It's just a big AoE area. Get out of it. It does a lot of damage, and if you stand in it any period of time, it's going to be a big problem. The other thing he has is a Renewing Mist, which he will heal himself. You have to stun him to stop that, or you can interrupt with a wind shear, something like that. That'll take care of it as well. So, but yeah, it's a really odd mechanic, and I hope they get that fixed soon, because it just, unless there's another weapon somewhere that we don't know about, it doesn't make any sense. Now, he drops the Cursed Talisman, which actually is a reused item from the Jade Forest off a rare called Fixel, which you can actually see on my Rares Guide, my supplemental Rares Guide here on the channel as well. It just banishes the user for 20 seconds, which keeps you from taking any damage whatsoever. Now we move up towards the Sanctuary, which you can only get to by flight. And you ask, if I can't fly, how am I supposed to get up there? There are these flying albatross all over the island that you will be able to damage. Once you damage it, it will pick you up in its mouth and fly you through the air, and you will be able to get up to these areas. Once you're in the location you want to, you damage it again and fight it and defeat it. Once you kill it, it'll drop you where you are. So make sure you drop in an area that you're not going to take a ton of damage. One good place to drop is in the water where Garnia is there. That'll be the first rare we look at. Now, the Archerius of Flame, again, the legendary cloak is required to go into that section of the Sanctuary, so we will not be able to cover that, unfortunately. But we will move on to Flintlord Gayron right around the corner, as well as Urdur, the Cauterizer. As you can see, Garnia is just chilling under the water there, which is no problem. Just pull him out and beat the living daylights out of him. Now, he only has one ability you have to worry about. It's called Ruby Bolt. It does do a lot of damage, but it's a 3-second cast time, and you can stun it, interrupt it, so don't worry about that whatsoever. Good thing is, after that easy kill, he has the potential to drop a Ruby Droplet, which actually is a pet. It's a small miniature version of him. Shocking, as if we haven't seen that before. I love this model, though, so I'm really anticipating having this pet ASAP. It's one of the, probably, I would say, one of the easier kills here on the Timeless Isle. Around the corner we go to Flintlord Gayron, and you can see I was just trying to get a nice little cinematic shot of him, and yeah, face pulled. Genius, Joe, genius. Anyway, let's talk about the abilities we're dealing with here. First one we're going to talk about is Blazing Blow. It is a frontal cone that does damage, and he'll pretty much just chain cast that over and over again in this video. You'll see. You can stun him like I just did there. That'll stop him, but otherwise he's just going to pretty much keep at it. The other is Conjure Eternal Kiln, essentially a giant golem guy that will increase the rare's haste, movement speed, and damage, so you want to kill the rare as soon as possible. I'm not even sure if you can kill the golem, but I would just take out the rare as fast as possible at that point. Now, he drops 2 potential items. One is an ash-covered horn, which is much like the yak. It's a rideable, uncontrollable, furious ash hide motion. It only lasts like 10 seconds. It's okay. It's a little gimmicky, but, you know, it is what it is. The other is a trinket that has a use of charge at the enemy, inflicting a bunch of fire damage and damage to the enemies within 8 yards and knocking them down. So that could be interesting, but it takes a trinket slot and it doesn't have any stats on it, so I'm not sure where you'd use that, but I guess it could come in handy somewhere. Okay, now we move on to Urdur, the Cauterizer. Now, he is technically in the Sanctuary area, but not in the actual area where Ordos and all that is. So you don't get ported out if you don't have the Legendary Cloak. You just have to sneak around to that corner, which, again, is just past where we were just at. And I just pull him out of there. Luckily, we pulled one ad, and he was able to be pulled separately from the rare, and then we pulled Urdur, and he pulled by himself as well. So you can see me trying to LOS him here. Now, the abilities that Urdur have are, again, pretty standard. One where I'm going to bring up is the golem you see here. This is what we didn't get on the last one. Unfortunately, I got wiped out by it. But that's the golem that you'll probably see on a lot of young gulls. This one does a little bit more damage. He heals the caster, so he heals the rare as well as he does damage. So you just have to kind of watch him. He only lasts for 20 seconds, so it's not too bad. As you can see there, he disappeared. So you just kind of have to weather the storm on these golems, apparently. That's just how they do a lot of... They don't help, but they don't last very long. Now, the other thing is a firestorm. You can see it coming down again. More rain dancing from these rares. So you just kind of have to avoid that or stun it, so, you know, when he's casting it doesn't occur. So that's pretty much all you have to deal with. We're in a very tight spot over here, but there's really nowhere else to go to pull him. So as long as you take care of him, and like I'm kiting those golems away from my friend, the warlock who's doing all the work. So just we worked together and we figured it out and eventually got him down. Now, the potential drop he could have is called the Sunset Stone. We've seen already an Ashen Stone, a Rain Stone, stones that change the weather in the vicinity that you are. This one is for a sunset. Place a sunset stone that will change the time of day to sunset in the surrounding area for 10 minutes. So when it says surrounding area, I don't know how big of an area that encompasses, but apparently it is a stone that sits there. So it's anything, I guess, even if you don't have the stone yourself, if you wander in that area, you'll get that effect. I don't know if that's the case for sure, but that seems to be, from everything that I've seen, that's the case. So again, that should be in the game, though I haven't seen it myself. On the PTR, it is still on the list of achievements, so it might be just one of those random weird PTR things that I just, you know, didn't drop, and we had some other people lose it out of the bag, stuff like that. So, but that still should exist per the achievement in the game. Next up, we're going to head back down to sea level to the Cavern of Lost Spirits, where we're going to find ourselves 2 rares, the Spirit of Jadefire and Rock Moss. Now, the Spirit of Jadefire has several spawn points throughout the cavern, so you might have to search just a little bit. Probably not much, but a little bit. That is, if it's even actually up. Now, it has 2 abilities you have to worry about. One is a Jadefire Bolt, which is just a standard fire bolt right to your face. You can interrupt that, you can stun that. Same as the Jade Flame Strike you're going to see in a little bit. It's going to be a big flame on the ground. That's what that is. Now, the Spirit of Jadefire drops a glowing green ash, which is essentially a big bag of wonders. Again, you're seeing these leather and everything else. It's going to be a bunch of enchanting items, so enchanting materials, I should say. So if that's what you need, that's probably where you want to farm, because there's probably a lot in that bag, if the other bags are any indication. Rock Moss, however, will be farther back in the cave and always spawn in that same spot, so you don't have to worry about searching for him so much. Now, the only thing I would say is, as far as he's concerned, is his abilities are made even worse by the situation you're in. He has a lot of other ads around him, as you can see, so that can be a little bit constraining, because what he does is a big murky cloud. You can see it. It makes a big AoE area around him, and he does it somewhat frequently, so you want to pull him out of that, of course, and you eventually start getting pushed around to the point where you get near those other ads. So if you're by yourself, you might want to clear some of them out. More than likely, if it's the Timeless Isle, people are going to be killing, there's going to be mobs everywhere, people just rushing these rares, so you're probably going to be able to just have 10 people just kill it in seconds, so it probably won't be too big of a deal, but still something to anticipate because that murky cloud hurts a lot. The other thing is a big thing, of course, too, is renewing mists, a heal. So you want to make sure, this is just like spell lurk stuff, essentially. So you make sure you interrupt that because he's just going to keep healing himself, and you don't want to deal with that. So now, the thing that he potentially could drop is called the Golden Moss. It is a trinket, and it causes extra gold to drop whenever you kill a target that yields experience or honor. There's another similar item in Pandaria as well. I think it was the Golden Fleece off of a rare in the Dreadwaste. So almost the exact same thing here. And so if you were ever looking for that one and couldn't get it, maybe you'll get it on the Timeless Isle. Alright, let's head west off the coast for our last two rares, Evermaw and the dread ship Vesuvius. You will see that Evermaw circles the entire island. Obviously, that's where we're putting the text there, but it circles literally the entire island. It's a giant fish. So, but the key to this is you have to kill Evermaw while he is a rare elite. You have to kill Evermaw before you can get the item that will then summon the dread ship Vesuvius. Here, let's take a look and you'll see what I mean. For this rare, all I can say is I hope you have water walking or a death knight available that's going to help you out. Because, yeah, this sucker goes for a long time out in the water. It's 130 million health, so it takes a bit to take him down. Now, he doesn't really stop, he doesn't attack or anything. You just have to take him down as he slowly lumbers his way. Now, the other interesting thing is parts of his pathing, of course, around the entire island, leads you to dark water, so you will start getting fatigued. So it gets a little dicey that way every once in a while. Now, again, no abilities or anything to speak of. He just sits there and takes it. Now, the other thing is he doesn't really have anything real special to drop necessarily, because all he drops is the mist-filled lantern, which will help you summon the dread ship. Now, that is not like anything special in and of itself, but of course it helps you to potentially get something off the dread ship, right? So that's something to think about. So let's go on and look at the dread ship, because that's the real payoff for this particular rare as well. So you take the mist-filled lantern to this location right here, and you use it right with this little ceremonial thing, whatever it is. And yes, the dread captain will come arise, and you will see, if you're on the island, you'll see him yell, so you'll know when somebody goes ahead and activates this. And there's the dread ship itself, and believe it or not, that is the rare boss. That is the rare elite that you're going to be taking down. As you can see right now, there's so much going on, and this thing hits like a truck when it does hit with its abilities, which we will speak about right now. The first one is Cannon Barrage. This one is nasty. You can see there's a lot of fire on the water. I mean, it's not on the ground, it's on the water, but that does a lot of damage. Obviously, get the hell out of it. That does a ton of damage, as well as just getting hit with the cannon barrage in general. So whenever you see a cannonball come your way, obviously just move, please. Now, the other thing is a dark barrage, which is just a barrage of dark energy. So that's not something I don't think you can really do much about. I think it just hits you instantaneously. So just the cannon and barrage and the fire sitting there on top of the water. Now, we did try going underneath the ship, under the water itself. The boat has a kickback, a knockback. So if you get too close, especially as a melee, I've been kicked back many times, you'll get knocked back away. And you think hiding under the water will keep you from the fire? No, it will not. So like I said, this rare has a lot of health and it does a lot of damage. So it's not one to be toyed with. Hopefully you'll have a bunch of people helping you. But it is a fun fight. I mean, who would ever thought a pirate ship would be a rare mob? So I really endorse this one 100%. Now let's look at what it could potentially drop. Something called the Rhyme of the Time-Lost Mariner. It is a nice little item. It's unique. You sing the haunting melody of the crew lost on the dread ship, and it turns you into a skeletal pirate. You'll look just like these pirates that you see up on the ship. It's pretty neat. It has a 2-hour cooldown, but it's a fun little vanity item. Again, that's pretty much what we're going for on these rares, are vanity items. Fun things that even down the line, years from now, another expansion, you're like, you know what? I want to look like a ghost pirate. Where do I have to go? And you will come and solo this thing, and and it'll be a little bit easier than it was on patch day. Alright guys, that is it for me. Like I said, always thank you so much for watching the guide, commenting, liking, favoriting, subscribing, all that stuff. I really do appreciate it. And again, I have to thank everybody over at WoWHead, Perculia in particular, for helping me out with these guides. Euphyley over at RareSpawnsBlogspot.com. Amazing help with me on these, as well as, again, my Trauma 2 guild members, Jacob, Hag, Robin, and Stephanie, for coming and helping me kill these rares. Euphyley as well for killing these rares with me also. I couldn't do it without you guys. I love you so much, and thank you again for everything, and I will see you very soon. Take care.